I know what you're thinking. From the minute that you clicked on the video, I could smell the sus on you, all right? You're a little suspicious, and that's okay. I get it. You're bored. You're tired of the same thing over and over and over, and just year after year after year, it's the same shit. But don't worry. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. The grass just might be greener on the other side. So let me tell you guys how my experience has been since I've switched over from Apple to Android 6 months later. So we have to start with the why, as in why the switch over from Apple to Android. And to be honest, it's probably the same reason that you're here. I was bored. I was bored out of my mind with my phone. And as someone who loves tech, I always had this itch to just find something new about my phone, something new to play with, something new that I haven't tried. And unfortunately, Apple just made that really hard. I've been with iPhone since this phone, the iPhone 6s Plus, first came out. And since then, there's only been like a handful of things that have gotten me excited about using my iPhone. Most of those exciting things that I'm speaking about actually came with this phone right here, the iPhone XS Max. We're talking a larger display, edge to edge, OLED as well, and also the introduction of Face ID, and not only that, but even a different way to navigate your menus with the whole swipe up motion, right? But unfortunately, from that point forward, it was just baby steps. There was nothing new, and after upgrading to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, I realized that it was just a never-ending cycle that I just wanted to get out of, and so I took a leap and decided to check out Android for a change. Before I talk about the things that I loved since being on Android, let me just quickly mention the first hoop you'll have to jump through when, deciding to switch over to the other side, and that is transferring data. This part was not fun at all. And to be honest, this is difficult regardless of which side you're switching from. It's not as simple as like if you were switching from one iPhone to the next or one Samsung to the next, where it has a seamless process. I barely got my contacts over, like literally lost a majority of the most recently added ones. Considering it's a whole new operating system, there was no history of apps that I previously downloaded. So unfortunately, I had to go through and manually search, find, and download all the different apps that I utilize. And not only that, but I also had to retype in all my passwords, and that's not fun. I didn't realize how helpful and clutch it is to have a keychain or your iCloud. So do keep in mind that first hurdle that you have to get through when deciding to switch over. Now let's get into the things that I love about Android. First off, displays. And I mean that in a plural sense because of the device that I chose. So this is specific towards foldable devices, and more specifically in my case, towards the Google Pixel Fold. Having two displays at my disposal has made my experience on Android just so much more enjoyable. This is a type of joy that you just don't get like literally anywhere on the Apple side of things. Like there is nothing that compares to the Google Pixel Fold. And that's the thing, is that on the Android side of things, there are things that do compare because you do have options when it comes to foldable devices. Having what is essentially a foldable tablet in your pocket at all times is one of the joys in life that I didn't realize I was missing out on. There's just something exciting about just being able to watch all of my content on a bigger display, no matter where I'm at. I talk more about the displays on my review for the Google Pixel Fold. If you guys want to check that out, you can either click the card up here or here, wherever it's at, or just check the description. Next, let's talk about the things that I like on the software side of Android. Although these are clearly different operating systems as far as Apple and Android, we have to remember that these are at the core of everything smartphones, right? They all do the same thing. You can call, text, listen to music, watch videos, take pictures, and even download apps. It's all the same, but the differences, they lie within how you do these things. For example, the customization is a lot bigger on this side, especially if you ask like true hardcore Android fans, because they tend to go really deep. And we're talking about completely changing the whole entire like operating system to something else. The customization that I speak of, that I like, is a little more simpler, right? We're talking about simply moving app icons to wherever you'd like on your home screen, or maybe taking a little step further and opting in to utilize experimental functions within your phone. But I will admit though that Apple's they're starting to close the gap just a little bit. As time has progressed, they've shown some progression when it comes to customization. Another great thing about being on Android is the fact that I'm a Windows user, and what that means for me is that I can plug my phone straight into my computer and pull all the files that I need. There's no need to sign in at Apple or jump through any hoops whatsoever. I actually, when I had my iPhone, I had to use the Documents app in order to, I guess, have some type of process of unloading videos onto my computer. That's a thing in the past. I no longer have to do that. A big feature though that I do use every single day is the ability to control my TVs with my phone. For example, I have an older TV upstairs that has a Chromecast plugged into it, and without it, I'm only able to use the few streaming apps that are already pre-installed onto it. But thanks to my Google Pixel Fold, I'm able to cast any streaming app that I'd like. And another example is my living room TV, which is a bit newer, and because of it, I'm able to control the entire TV with my phone, like literally use it as the remote. So I can turn the volume up or down, I can select the different apps that are available, and I can even shut off the TV. That was not doable with my iPhone. And the closest that I can get to doing any of that is by purchasing an Apple TV. And I don't want to spend the money. Now let's talk about some of the things that I miss in Apple land. First, Face ID. Face Unlock, it just isn't Face ID. It isn't quick or accurate, and due to the inconsistencies, I just end up using the fingerprint scanner, which is nice as an option. Every time I try to use the Face Unlock, it reminds me of how great Face ID was. It was so quick, accurate, and worked at least 80% of the time. Next, texting, and more specifically, iMessage. Now this varies depending on your peers and what they use, but my group of people, my family, they all use Apple devices, and unfortunately that leaves me as a black sheep of the family. And that wouldn't be a problem if I had a good connection at work, but unfortunately my service is like dog doo-doo. And that's because of, the room that I work within. I'm a videographer for work, and we operate within a room that has acoustic panel treatments all over, and the entire room is made out of just completely solid, like all the way around brick. So no signal goes through at all. This wasn't an issue before when I had iMessage because, it works through Wi-Fi, and we have, Wi-Fi at work. We've had to unfortunately resort to using Snapchat in this case as our form of communication, and it's fine. I guess I can't complain too much because I'm still able to communicate with my wife, but iMessage, FaceTiming, and all that was a lot easier. The final thing I want to mention about what I miss from my iPhone is the fluidity and the finesse. It's a small thing, but something about Apple's OS just felt a bit more fluid and polished. It's actually how most of, or all of Apple's, products tend to be. I mean, sure, iPhone really was not breaking new grounds each year with its latest models, but what it was doing with that time was pretty much sharpening its blade. They were always late to the game when it came to features that already existed on Android, but you could tell that time spent being late was spent perfecting those features. Now, before wrapping this video up, I wanted to note a couple of general things that I noticed ever since I've switched over to the Google Pixel Fold. Everything plays out just like any other flagship device would when it came to the Google Pixel Fold. I mean, it was slick and smooth and buttery, and Google's operating system had no issues running all the apps that I normally utilize on a day-to-day basis. I haven't really found anything that this device right here couldn't do that my iPhone could. And no, unfortunately, these cameras just do not compare when it comes to this year's latest iPhone. As far as video, I know picture-wise, there's a real battle there to be had. But video-wise, which is important to me, they just don't really add up to what, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, is that where we're at now? What the iPhone 15 Pro Max can do. But that's not to say that these are a bad set of cameras by any means. In fact, I actually think they're a lot better than I was anticipating, especially with it being a foldable device. And that's the thing, that's the quirk with it all, is the foldability. It really adds versatility with how I utilize my cameras. It's the little things like essentially always having your own kickstand wherever you go, or being able to use the main camera as a selfie camera. These little things, they really do add to the camera experience. Oh, and for anybody wondering what these cameras look like when it comes to social media apps, they're great. All right, it's this whole thing that I always talk about, and some Android devices just don't do well with portraying their own cameras. This phone doesn't have that issue. I actually talk about it within my review if you guys want to go check that out. Here are some examples for you guys to look at right now. So after being on Android for the past 6 months, how has it been? And I mean, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that I feel like I'm carrying a bag of mixed emotions, because it literally goes like absolutely freaking amazing one day, and then other days where I just feel like, that wouldn't really be an issue if I was still on Apple. So on one side, I'm loving the change in my daily use of my smartphone with the added folding aspect of my device. It's enriched my media consumption experience, along with making multitasking quite the delight. I love the quick change in reactions that I actually get from people whenever I tell them that I'm on Android. They tend to frown right away, but then the minute I hand them my device and they unfold it, that frown quickly turns into excitement and joy. Another great thing about being on Android is the fact that losing my TV remote, it's a small thing, but it's a stress of the past now. On the other side of this big mixed bag of emotions, I have to deal with, let's just call it peer pressure or even just more plainly ridicule. I get a lot of like, ew, green bubble, or just, maybe even more so the inconveniences of not being able to share things with my Apple friends via AirDrop. Like literally, it was so much easier to have AirDrop and send a picture or video as opposed to now, through text messages, pictures go through now, but a video, I literally have to either send a Google Docs link or Google Drive link, or they're just gonna have to deal with the pixelated video, which most will not deal with. Another thing is that I'm no longer reachable via FaceTime. But considering everything that I've just talked about, I'm still feeling pretty optimistic and honestly excited as I continue to journey through this world of Android for, at the very least, the next 6 months, because these first 6 months with its drawbacks and everything, it still feels like it's been worth it. There hasn't really been a big enough reason for me to turn back over to the Apple side of things. And sure, I've considered it at times due to the communication issues I've had, but it's still, considering I have a workaround for it, it's still not a big enough reason for me to just let go of my Google Pixel Fold. And so I'm just gonna keep moving forward. I'm gonna enjoy this journey right now because I already went that way. I'm liking this way right now, and I'll have to check back in 6 months from now when I hit a year. Now, don't let me be the only one sharing my experience. I love reading you guys' experiences and opinions on the different devices. So if you've recently switched over from Android to Apple or Apple to Android, let me know in the comments down below. But if any of you guys have any questions in regards to Android, in regards to my iPhone, in regards to Google Pixel Fold, or whatever the case may be, even, where I got this shirt from, there's a comment section for all of that. And I love talking to you guys. So make sure to comment, make sure to like this video if it's helpful in any way. And if it wasn't helpful, let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because trust me, I think your cool factor goes up a bit. I heard you get paid a little more. I heard that you grow a little more too, like you're a little taller. Anyways, thank you guys for taking the time to see what I see as far as my switch to Android. And I hope you guys have a fantastic morning, evening, afternoon, good night. Bye-bye.